I wasn't actually planning on putting up the video for the interview podcast that I'm doing. Usually I do audio only, but you asked for it, so here it is. And we lost the video for the first 10 to 15 minutes of Anthony's side of the call, purely because his internet dropped out and it just didn't get a chance to upload. So for the first 15 minutes or so, you'll just see a picture of Anthony. And then after that, the audio does get clearer and there is video as well. So I thought about excluding the first 15 minutes, but I thought there was value in that part of the conversation. So you can just look at Anthony's face. I really enjoyed speaking to Anthony. He was absolutely lovely. I figured he would be from being a follower of his work, and he was even more lovely to speak to than I had expected, which was awesome. If you would like to support my work, there's two things you can do. I have a parenting book called Beyond Reactions, Nurturing an Emotionally Intelligent, Limitless Generation Through Conscious Parenting. I'll put a link in the show notes that you can buy a copy of that. It's a pay as you wish if you want a digital copy, or you can buy a copy from Amazon. And I have also, off the back of this conversation with Anthony, I kept thinking about the idea of actionable insights in children's entertainment, and I've decided to write my own children's stories inspired by the works that I read for my own children, and wishing to share the things that I write in my self-help for adults. So the idea is to create actionable advice for everyday life for children, to explain how and why things inside their body work the way they do and things inside their mind work the way that they do. I was saying it's very surreal having a conversation with somebody whose face I have on a plate in my kitchen.
Oh, that's funny.
my kids have the little Wiggles plate. You're dressed as an explorer.
Wow.
Yeah, one of those.
That's great.
So, thank you for coming on today. We'll get straight into it. So, I have been a follower of the Wiggles since I was a kid, basically. You started when I was like 3 years old.
That's great.
And I watched as a child, and then having my own kids, I've watched you guys. And a few months ago, or maybe I've lost track of time, a bit longer, you expanded the team to 8 people, and you made it diverse. And it was something that, like, my husband and I were discussing, going, that's a really amazing decision, because there's so many companies out there and businesses who are looking to increase diversity and increase inclusion, and you guys did it in a way that I haven't seen done elsewhere. So I really wanted to get you on and have a chat about, how did you guys come to that decision, and how did you make the decision of how to be more inclusive, and like talk me through that process you went through.
Yeah, well, when we first started all those years ago, I graduated of Macquarie, early childhood, and one of the objectives of the Wiggles when we started was to reflect the pluralistic society we lived in. And we tried to do that by, having music from around the world, from the cultures, different cultures. At the time, this is 1992, 93, and we had Jeff, who naturally was a friend of ours, and an Asian Australian, and that was, in those days, that was pretty unheard of. I think Jeff was the most famous Asian Australia in Australia at the time. But Australia was a very, while we had lots of cultures, it wasn't very accepting or in the open or encouraged, inclusive, reflective. The Wiggles just started as 4 guys from uni who were friends, and it was great we had Jeff there. But as you know, in the last, when Emma came on board, we were basically 4 white people with blue eyes, and while we had a woman in the group, which was fantastic, that was a great step. It was 3 men, 1 woman. We were gender imbalanced, but also we just didn't reflect Australian society, where we didn't have anyone of colour, anyone with brown eyes, anyone with, and it wasn't meant. But as my years advanced, I really wanted to make that my, I guess, my legacy was to go, okay, guys, we've got to reflect Australia, and Australia is not for people with blue eyes.
They're not all blue-eyed.
Yeah, and not at all.
No.
So I went about working out how to do that, and you wouldn't believe it. Not everybody was on board with the change. So many people could see how good it was, but didn't think it was the right thing to do, or it was too much too soon. And
Really?
yeah, and we also got flack from politicians.
Oh,
Yeah, one of the in Queensland, a politician said that we were woke and woke and will
interesting.
go broke. Now, it wasn't a business decision either. I think it was just, for me, it was a moral decision that it just wasn't fitting right. I felt we needed to reflect Australia, so that's what we tried to do.
And have you found that since you made that change, your audience has reflected the change? Do you see a difference when you look out at the audience?
It's incredible. For the first time in our wiggly history, we look out,
I like that
yeah,
term.
you look out into the concert, into the audience, and there are African families, there are Filipino families, Australian, African Australian families, Filipino Australian families. We've got Greek families, Italian families. We've got families, all over, Indigenous Australians coming and saying we want to see our sister because he's, a First Nation Australian. Johnny's mother's from the Philippines. Shahai was born in Ethiopia. Katerina's two parents were born in Calabria, and Lucia, my daughter, her mother's from Greece. So we've got and when we look into the audience, people bring signs in Filipino or in different
Oh,
languages. Someone had put a sign up and it said, "Evie has made us, my daughter, see that being an Indigenous Australian, you can still do ballet." Things like that. It's been fantastic, for heartwarming.
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, Simon and I both, one time, it was in the country somewhere, we looked into the audience. There were so many people from Africa or African, background in the audience. And after the show, we both had tears in our eyes because it's exactly what we wanted to happen. People to feel like the Wiggles are for them, more people from different cultures.
That's really beautiful.
It was really good, man. I'm also loving learning about Ethiopia, learning about the Philippines, from these great people.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Personally, I grew up with a lot of diversity, just in terms of I tended to be a minority where I went to school, what I studied at uni, that sort of thing. And so for me, it's been more common to be around diversity. So it's interesting that once you've changed what you're representing, how much your audience has changed.
Yeah, but my family is an incredible family, and this is why my mum and dad were so open. My sister, Ruth.
Excellent. You look like you're in an office.
Yeah, I'm in an office.
Ah, right. Welcome back. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it was me or you, but I was hoping that we get back together. So where were we? We were just talking about.
I was about to tell you about my family.
Yes, your nieces and nephews.
Well, one of my sisters is Muslim. She lives in Saudi Arabia, and I have two nieces and one nephew who are Saudi and speak Arabic, and then my brother Patrick, he married someone from Vietnam. My sister Maria, who's not with us anymore, but she married a Venetian. My I think that's probably that just shows you how open my family. My mum and dad had a really open look at the world, and I'm
very happy about that.
It sounds like there'd be a lot of different languages at a family event of yours.
Yeah, actually, when my sister Anne got married, um, they came over, and we didn't even know that Anne had married. And uh, Dad took it all in his stride and went, "Okay, we'll have a party," and we had a party, and it was fantastic. No, she's happy as over in Saudi, so what can you do? It's just great.
That's awesome. You mentioned that when you first started Wiggles, the reflecting Australia was one of the guiding principles. What other core values or guiding principles do you have at the Wiggles?
Well, we're a child-centered business. Not we're, business is probably the wrong word.
Oh, sorry.
We're a child-centered uh, organisation. When we make music, it's children is what we're about. Uh, when we make our concerts, the children primarily, that's who we look at first, their developmental age, what they're going to get out of that, blah, blah, say blah, blah, blah. I don't mean it, but um, so I guess the ethos is we've really got to be a positive influence on children and make them feel very special. I think that's one of the, you know, are we doing a book? If we're doing a book, what are they going to get out of that book? How is it going to enhance their moments with us? I suppose it's things like that,
Making a special moment for each child that engages.
and making them feel welcome to the Wiggle world. And inclusive. Again, being inclusive for people, children with special needs, children, from all different cultures.
How do you cater to special needs when you're doing these math shows? Because you said to me, "Oh, I'm going to Brizzy for some shows," and then you came back and said you did 14 shows in 4 days. That's a lot for starters. So, how do you actually cater for? Because I imagine it's quite difficult because you don't really have control over the venue. So, how do you make sure that the venues that you choose and like how you present is accessible?
Yeah, that could be that's a hard one because you're right. Some venues aren't exactly appropriate for
No.
children with autism or whatever children with physical uh, additional needs, or sometimes the venues aren't great, or the noise is too much for them, and there's no quiet space, or we have
Oh,
the
yeah.
lights too big. So there are certain things that almost we can't control because um, it's almost beyond our I guess asking for the venue to put this in or to put in a room where the children can watch with it. But saying that, we do ask for spaces at the front of the venue where children in wheelchairs or adults in wheelchairs can be comfortable. We accommodate. We ask if we ask the children or anyone to stand up. We always say, if you're able to stand up, we'd love you to stand up for this one.
I
If
have noticed that.
yeah, or if not, you can dance sitting down. That's great. So little things like that. We definitely recognise that there are adults who've grown up with the Wiggles who have autism or Down syndrome and autism, and they still love the Wiggles like they did. And we'll go out of our way to acknowledge them in the audience, or if they've made a picture for us, we'll read it out. And um, usually, if you can sense that they're okay with the attention, we'll say, "Oh, stand up, Daniel," and everyone give Daniel a clap. So we always think about the stages and the ages that our children who watch us are at.
Interesting. And along that idea, um, you guys do a lot of shows. I was quite surprised by your message the other day of how many shows you pulled off in 4 days. What kind of mindset do you guys actively promote within the team to be able to handle? Because it's amazing what you can pull off, and it could also be a lot of pressure for each of you.
Sorry, I just need. This is a
Bless
crazy
you.
thing. I'm so sorry. Um, well, I've never. This is. I've been doing this for 33 years now. I've never been bored at a show ever. And here's another one of the ethos, we never joke about our audience, we never belittle our audience, we never go backstage and talk about the children or the parents in a way that's derogatory. It's special for us to get up on the stage and I always knew it was special, but after COVID, when all that got taken away, we came back and we're just so happy to be doing shows. If you look into the audience of our shows, and I'm sure this is the same with other early childhood entertainers, you see the children are just so happy, but the parents are so happy because the children are happy. And for a lot of them, it's their first concert, and you've got to make it a real special. But everybody that's on board the Wiggles at the moment is so committed to doing a good show and making it memorable for the people who've gone to the effort to get there and going to a show with prams, with nappies, with children, public transport or driving. It doesn't matter. It's a
Just even navigating nap times at that age is
my goodness.
difficult.
Yes, that's another thing. And the parents who come to the show and they've been looking forward to taking their child and the child sleeps during the show, you can't do anything about that. That's children.
And you can't really do anything if they have skipped their nap because they're so excited to
That's
go
right.
and they are not emotionally in the right place to enjoy it the way they would have if they had
That's
slept.
right.
I imagine that happens a lot.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see things.
So then, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, and it seems like you're still just as passionate as the day you started.
Absolutely. I've actually, this is a board that I put up, for episodes.
All right.
Themes for episodes of our things. So animals, transport, my body, senses, fairy tales, community helpers, seasons. This is all stuff that I learned at university, and our challenge: 20 hours of content, quality, engaging, child-centered. Like things that we have to keep thinking about. You can't just sit there and go, well, okay, we're the Wiggles, we did this, we did that. We've got to keep reinventing, getting reinvigorating and re-looking at what we're about. So I try and instill that in the young dudes.
I think it's a pretty personally, as an information scientist and a mum, I think that children's entertainers have such a powerful role that a lot of people don't realize, because you are a behavioral model for children. Whether parents realize it or not, you are a behavioral role model for their children. So the fact that you put so much care and attention into teaching and role modeling, and I love what you said about making sure that you never speak poorly about the audience, because I think that's something that is so important in parenting as well, is don't speak about someone behind their back. As before I had kids, it was a bad habit of mine to gossip, and becoming a parent, I went, oh, I don't want to say anything in front of my kids that my kids might repeat. And then after I went, well, if I don't want my kids to repeat it, why would I say it in the first place? And so for me, it's transformed me as a person. It's made me a better person, but it's beautiful to hear that you as an entertainer also carry that belief and that fundamental practice with you.
Well, it's about respecting the audiences who are the children and families, but also in our early days, we toured with a couple of early childhood entertainers who will remain nameless, who would go on and come off stage and complain about, to give them child a name like a brat or whatever like that, who got up during this song. And they have unrealistic expectations of children because early childhood show, children are going to be talking the whole time during the show. You know that. If they're not engaged, they'll walk away.
They might just need to go to the toilet too.
Yeah, they might need to go to the toilet. That's true too. But it's not like an adult audience who've been taught the manners and the etiquette of a theatre show where you stay quiet and then at the end you clap. Children don't even know how to clap, or that you're supposed to. So that's why we say give yourself a clap, because that they rather clap themselves anyway.
It's true. You guys are very good at it. We watched the live one on ABC iView, and my kids will like get up when you say, "Hey, do you want to get up and be a tree or something like that?" They'll get up and do the actions as well.
Yeah.
So I think how you're doing it is doing it in an inclusive way that's not. I don't appreciate as much when there's shows that will like demand it of a child, like almost in a way like just do this type thing.
That's right. A command, or a can you? We do a can you challenge, a challenge,
Yeah, where
or
it's an
choice
invitation.
if you'd like to. Yeah, an invitation, a
Yeah,
choice. And the other thing we do is we've never gone boys and girls ever, because we know that children at that age, for a start, are sorting out. They don't know if they're a boy or girl half the time anyway. They're just them, and they don't necessarily fit into a group of boys and girls, which we separate when we get to primary school. Everyone's all about the boys and the girls. But early childhood's not that, so it's about the individual. So we always just say, if you would like to, everybody, if you would like to join in, we wouldn't say boys and girls, and we've never said it in the 33 years or whatever it is, 34, 32 years. But you go to a lot of children's shows and they go, well, okay, boys and girls. And it's a child doesn't think of themselves at that age as a boy or a girl. So,
I don't think it's necessary. I think there's a lot of stuff that people will speak to boys or girls specifically, and like I don't think it's necessary because, like, what does gender have to do aside from biological differences? That it doesn't have to do with what you're entertained by or what you want to do or how you behave. In my opinion,
it's true. I agree with that. Especially in early childhood, um, groups and things become really important to children when they get about 6, 7, 8. But when they're young, they're just thinking about just working out who they are in relation to everybody. So grouping them in a group's not great, like putting them
no,
all.
it's giving them a label for no reason. You don't
That's
need
it.
it.
Yeah,
Just enjoy.
yeah.
So then, in the time that from my perspective, when I became a parent, I had to learn how to become a parent. It wasn't something that um, I thought I would just know, and then I realized there was so much to learn from a psychology perspective, from a neuroscience perspective, from a brain development perspective, just to understand how to be a better parent. And from what I can see, learning now, there's been so many shifts in parenting, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, but also how we approach children. And I thought it would be interesting to hear what shifts you have seen from when you started to where you are now in terms of parenting and a parent mindset, and maybe what they expect from childhood entertainment and how they treat their children at a concert, even things like that.
Yeah, it's a big question, but uh, I really do. You know Miss Rachel, the American entertainer?
She's the science one.
No, she's
Oh,
really,
she wears the overalls.
yeah,
Yes.
babies and young mums and dads. But I watched her because she's really very popular, and I wanted to see what it was all about. And I watched her for 30 seconds, and I understood she is so brilliant at working with children, at baby, like young babies, young toddlers, speaking in language they understand, and encouraging them to learn language, and also she sort of teaches the mums and the dads how to do it themselves. And it made me rethink about the Wiggles, because that's how we started, and I thought we got away from it a little bit. So we've gone on to YouTube now with a brand new series called Wiggle and Learn, and every 2 weeks we put up a new episode, and it's entertainment, but it's a lot more educational than we have been doing. And I was inspired by Miss Rachel, and I think uh, that was good to see that early childhood principles, maybe not um, as appreciated on commercial television as in YouTube, where you can just put it up there and people can watch it over and over and over again. Um, so my eyes were open again to early childhood principles guiding your entertainment. Not that we ever lost it, but I think we've really got it back again. Parenting these days is different to when I was, my children are I was a late father. I started when I was 40. I'm 60 now. So,
Wow.
so my child, which is 20, but 20 years ago there wasn't computers and phones to jump on as much as they are now. So every child now is straight onto the little screen, and that's a challenge for parents. And I think children aren't as active as they were, maybe. Going outside and kicking a ball around or digging, in the garden or whatever. So they're challenges that parents today have, and yeah,
I find there's a lot of children's entertainment that also encourages going outside, which is
there.
useful because my kids will see somebody plant a seed and
That's
they like, okay, cool, I want to go plant something, and they'll just dig up the garden and start planting things. So I think there's a power behind the screen.
that. No, there is. But that's why you've got to be. That's why it's so important to engage children and encourage active watching, where they're doing something, not passive. Where they're, you encourage them to be active, to go out and uh, you know make some fruit salad, or
Yeah, we do
you
make
know,
fruit salad
yeah,
every time we hear that song.
yeah, or I'm just looking at it, what we're recycling, or phonics or numbers or colours or seasons, or think about the community helpers and identify them when they're out shopping, or there's lots of things that, or that planting a seed and watching the garden grow. That's a concrete experience for a child. They can see what they did and see what happens as a result of what they did.
I never really thought about it before until you explained it there. It's children's entertainment with actionable advice,
That's it. That's it.
which I had never really considered. That in fact, yes, the things that they look at and watch, and then they go, oh, I want to do that too. It's because in some way they were given actionable advice of, here's how to dig the hole and put the seed in, or here's
Absolutely.
what the police officer is wearing and you can say hi, or those sorts of things.
And I promise you that after this, I'm putting up on that board planting a seed.
Plant something in the
I'm
garden,
going to
yeah.
do it. I'll send it to you when we do it.
Excellent. Well, now I got to go on YouTube and find your new thing because I didn't know it was there. So we'll have to
Have a look at
watch that.
Wiggle and Learn. It's really, it's a little. I'm really proud of how we're going with that. So
You're
yeah,
putting something up every 2 weeks.
every 2 weeks a brand new episode, and we're really um, putting so much effort into it. It's been really good. Yeah.
And what have you found? Because that's a fast turnaround. I presume that's a lot faster than when you did your previous ones that you kind of got to go through the rigmarole of getting it onto TV.
When you go on TV, you have to go because ABC are usually
Season by season.
so we do it ours, and then you go to the ABC and they'd have to approve it, and that's fair enough for quality, blah blah blah, for technical quality, blah blah blah. But with YouTube, you know, we want it to be the best it can possibly be, uh, but it means we are running our own. We are sort of sailing the ship, and the response has been absolutely fantastic for Wiggle and Learn. We've got a lot of fans all around the world that have
Oh,
tuned
so
into it.
cool.
Yeah, it's been really, really, it's been a very rewarding experience for us.
And presumably you can learn a lot faster from what parents and children are providing in comments. Mind you, sometimes comments can be unnecessarily
Oh,
unkind.
they're terrible. But do you know, it's a funny thing when I was teaching preschool. In early childhood, the what you are taught in the curriculum is all the children need to know. This is 30 years ago. It's probably changed a little bit, but 40 years ago when I was teaching, that we only had to deal with three numbers, 1, 2, and 3.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Three numerals, 1, 2, 3 for early childhood to live. Um, but but parents want their kids to count to 20, whereas so on our Wiggle and Learn, we're counting to 20. Whereas if I was in my preschool class and I was running it how I wanted to, I would just be dealing with 1, 2, and 3 numbers and numerals. because that's the foundation that they recommend.
That's
But
interesting.
yeah, so it's society wants you to teach the alphabet over and over and over. They want the children to learn to count to 20 before they get to school, and whereas the educational side of things was when I was doing it, the curriculum was only 3, and it meant if you had 3 lemons, and I take 1 away, how many have I got? 2. Now these are subtraction; these are simple for a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old can do it and achieve it. Then they can build on it. But the reality is, putting it up on YouTube, parents really want the children to be counting to 20.
Exactly.
So there is the commercial and the populist.
The societal expectations that
So
children.
that's the words I was looking for.
Which I find really interesting because I have chosen to homeschool my kids, and we are down the path of sort of unschooling, so we don't go by a curriculum. It's based on their curiosity, what they want to learn. And
Yep.
my 4-year-old loves maths, and she loves number blocks. I don't know if you've ever heard of number blocks.
Yeah, number blocks. Yeah,
Which I think is aimed at a slightly older
old
audience,
audience. Yeah.
but for me, it's kind of like she loves maths. She
Yep.
can go down that path as far as she can count to beyond 100, and she can do all that sort of stuff. But I have no expectation that she can count to any particular number or do anything. I think as a society, we could benefit from learning that children will learn at their own pace, and it's okay for there to be resources that count 1 to 3 and focus on the foundation, and there's okay for there to be resources that are aimed at a different level of knowledge.
And that's made me feel better as well. But I remember when I was teaching, again with the alphabet, our philosophy at university was that the alphabet, learning from A to Z, um, isn't as important as understanding the importance of what letters stand for.
Or the
So,
phonomics, if that's how you pronounce
phonics,
it. Phonics and phonics, phonomics, and then
yes,
phonemes. That's the
phonemes, yeah. But understanding that those letters mean something, and then pre-reading skills. And I would at my classroom, there was letters everywhere, but the parents would come in and say, "When are they learning the alphabet?" And I'd say, "Well, it'll come, but we're just we're just submerging them in letters and seeing what." It was again, it was a you had to kind of listen to the parents too about what they want, and then so you kind of did. I did both in a way, yeah.
It's really it shows a lot about as a society our expectations of like they have to learn at a particular pace, but they don't. It's just because you don't know how to go from A to Z right now doesn't mean you're not going to be able to read as a 10-year-old, as a 20-year-old.
And if it's the teacher's, I guess, chartered course, that you're not going to learn the alphabet first. You're going to learn different things before you get to learning the alphabet, so you understand it. Um, like when you're homeschooling, you would think, okay, where do you want to go today? Which is a great preschool philosophy, and you encourage that. But then there's also you'd have also, how do I encourage my child to go further, or how do I expand her interests, or how do I, if she's brilliant at maths, maybe I can try and encourage her to be doing some language
Yes.
here.
So
And
we do invitations to play, which is very Montessori
yeah,
inspired thing.
brilliant.
But
Yeah,
we kind of I try and make sure there's exposure to all the things that I think are worthwhile knowing. But at the end of the day, I'm more interested in making sure that they are curious and that they are understand how to learn.
yeah,
To me, that's more important than being able to go A to Z.
yeah.
Which
That's right. I agree. I agree. I agree. That's they're going to be smart kids. They'll be very well educated.
oh,
Yeah,
they schooled me on stuff already. I'm like, how did you know all this?
yeah. That's awesome.
So then, how back to your whiteboard for a second? Then, how do you rely on your learnings? Not rely on your learnings. I said that poorly. But do you go back to the basics you learned from the things you were doing in a classroom for how you design that, or like where do you get your inspiration from for how you design what you're doing and pulling off in these episodes?
Well, I'm just looking at like I'm looking there at themes for episodes, and they are exactly what I would have done in the preschool: cultural diversity, recycling, sustainability, letters and phonics, numbers, fairy tales, senses, my body, food, nutrition, space, weather, shapes, colours, seasons, community helpers, transport, animals. So uh, it, children haven't changed really. Uh,
Good.
yeah, so
Let them enjoy their childhood.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And so then tell me, because you've changed the Wiggles a lot since it first started, what do you envision as the legacy of the Wiggles then?
I would like. I would. I always wanted parents and teachers to look at the Wiggles and go, okay, I can trust my children in front of them, and they're going to learn something from them. And we haven't always been brilliant at it, and sometimes we've been really good. And um, I'm really happy with where we are at the moment. We've got such a good. It's like a family of people from different ages, different cultures, different genders, different outlooks, and we're all worked together. And um, I just hope that the Wiggles will always be trusted and looked upon as uh, good for children. Good for their entertainment or education, one or the other, or both.
Preferably both.
Yeah, preferably both.
That's interesting. You say the way you say that you've made mistakes, right? That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important to model to children as well that you can make mistakes and you can learn from it, and model it to parents too. That you can make mistakes and you can learn from it. You can listen to the feedback that says, hey, something you did and tried maybe wasn't appropriate because here's the pieces of information that you didn't know.
Absolutely. We've made some big mistakes, and I'm always the first one to put up my hand that it was me. As a parent, my dad taught me a lesson years and years ago. Ancient history here for you, but um, Dad was all for the Australia's involvement in the Vietnam War all those years ago. And one day he sat us all down, and I would have been 10 probably by then. And he sat us down and he said, I just want everyone to know that I know I'm wrong about the Vietnam War. I'm wrong about it. I was wrong. And I still remember that day. I was going, Dad just said he was wrong. And then he had a heart attack. And after that, he became really, because he had a life-threatening experience, he became really like that all the time. Like he'd say to us when we made a mistake, don't be hard on yourself. And because he told us he made mistakes, it took the pressure off him. And with my children, I tell them, I try and tell them all the time when I don't know something, or I've done something that I don't think I should have probably done it, or I did something years ago, and I think that takes the pressure off them too.
From everything I've learned, yes, it does. Because if you think that you need to hide these sorts of things from your children, then you are setting perfectionist standards that they're not allowed to make mistakes.
That's it.
That they won't make mistakes because you're not letting them see that, hey, I made a mistake, and actually modeling this is what you do when you make a mistake. You
Yep.
own up to it and you look at a course to correct it.
Yeah. Or yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a funny one. My children, if they ever, sometimes they would swear, or no, they wouldn't swear. I would swear, and sometimes you'd swear, just don't if I like to, but I did, when I was bringing them up. And I would always say I'm sorry, and I try to conceal it over saying ship or things like that. But but um, but also I I I didn't want to be too unlike what I really am, which is not swearing aggressively, but I did sometimes swear, and they knew that. So that I was hoping that when they grow older, that they met someone, and if the person swore, that they wouldn't think that was special, because because going back to my own childhood, my mum and dad were so incredibly good people that when I met bad people later in life, I had no indication, or I had no way of recognising that they were bad people, because mum and dad were just
It
so.
was like a really lovely way of being sheltered.
That's exactly right. So when I wasn't sheltered, I just didn't see the cues that I was. And now I'm older now. I can see things, but oh man, yeah. So yeah, that's why I didn't mind swearing in front of, so they didn't think it was glamorous for people to swear.
That's quite interesting. We do. My husband and I will swear sometimes in front of our kids. Generally, we've let go of most swear words, but we're very conscious of never at someone or
Oh
about
no,
someone.
yeah,
It's like a way of releasing frustration,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
but not directly.
not no, no. I totally agree with that. Yeah,
Or expressing that something is effing good
yeah, yeah,
every
yeah,
now and then.
things like that. Yeah, yeah,
But never as a label for someone.
yeah. I tell you the scariest time when I was teaching preschool. A little boy, like I had a whole class of 3-year-olds, and I had an assistant teacher, but a little boy ran out the door and ran towards the gate to get out,
Oh no.
and I raised, and I didn't lose. I lost my temper at myself, but not at him. But I put him in the classroom, and it was the first time I'd ever gone, oh my, I'm out of, wow, I've got a class to teach, and I'm not in control. I freaked out so much. The kids didn't. I didn't put any, get angry at anyone or anything like that. But just in my own self, I thought I've always been just totally calm and in control, but that time I really wasn't.
Oh, I got something for you to add to your board then. Emotional regulation. That's a big one.
Which one is it?
Emotional regulation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That needs to go up there because
Yeah,
that's a huge one.
yeah,
Because people think that emotional regulation comes with maturity, but it's a learned skill.
yeah.
You need to learn how to reconnect your nervous system, like how to balance everything out and how to breathe in order to get back in control of yourself. You can add that one to your board.
Yeah, well, but the only thing with me is I suffer from anxiety, and um, so which I'm on medication for. But if I'm not on the medication and a wave, say we're at the beach with the kids, if I see a wave, I say it's going to drown us all. Like that's why the kid running out to the gate, absolutely free. I saw the scenarios I was seeing weren't what most people would. And when
It's worst case scenario thinking.
yeah, and when we
It's
go
an
to
unlearnable thinking style, by the way.
it's
an unlearnable thinking style. You can retrain your brain to not have that
I'd
particular thought pattern.
Yeah, I've had it all my life. I don't know, but like when we used to go to a park with the kids, Mickey, my wife, and we would go with the 3 children, and they go to a park and they start playing on the thing. I had to walk away because every time they go up somewhere, I think something's going to happen, and Mickey would say, just walk away, go walking, come back in half an hour. Because I think,
Do you know, it's really interesting to hear you say that because I know it's something that a lot of parents really struggle with, and it's something that we don't often talk about because it can be uncomfortable and vulnerable to admit.
that they're worried about the children, what happens to them, or
Well, that they have these thoughts because sometimes those thoughts can be really overwhelming. Like
yeah,
really overwhelming to the point that it distracts you, it takes you away from the present, and it can make it hard to show up for your kids who are doing something else and in their own world when you're stuck in this world of, I think they're going to fall off that swing and crash and break their arm and
yeah,
die because they're
yeah,
swinging high. When in fact, like, even if they did break their arm will heal. But
yeah.
that really intense catastrophizing thinking can feel really overwhelming and cause anxiety for a lot of parents.
And I knew it did with me, and it still does. Those where they climb up to the top of those sort of
Those things. Yeah, I'm working on being okay with that. That's a hard one though.
Oh man, I just go. And what I didn't want to do was make make my children scared of doing things. So it actually was good to remove myself from that area. And when Mickey was parenting, early days with 3 children and doing all the hard work, she would sometimes, when she was about to lose it, she'd go outside. I wasn't going to lose it angry with I was just thinking this is going to happen, but
You want to tell them not to because you want to prevent them from what you
that's right.
getting
But whereas
Yeah.
she would take herself out of a situation, and I thought that was really good parenting too. And also, when I meet people who say to me, "Oh, I never wanted to have children. I never wanted to have children," and I'd go, "You know what? It's great you've recognised that. That's better than having children and going, what have I done? You know, so there's a lot of ways to think about the world, isn't there? Like,
You seemingly have quite a very strong relationship with your kids because they're involved in the Wiggles, right? They're all part of the team now.
Lucia's is the other blue wiggle, and she's absolutely.
Yes, we met Lucia in a book recently.
Oh, you did? That's funny.
I don't think we've watched the latest episodes, and I was like, "Who's this new Wiggle? There's another one I missed out." And
Have
then,
have a look on your YouTube because you'll see.
yeah, I'm going to go check it out.
She loves. The funny thing was, years ago when she was 10, she was not. You would not have thought that she would be. She would always say, I don't want to, have children when I grow up."
Sorry about that. Did that break out?
Oh no, you've dropped out.
Sorry.
Oh, you're back. Yep, a little. Sorry. When she was about 10, she didn't want to have children.
Yeah, she didn't want to, and she didn't want to. But now she absolutely loves children. Like, I think the Wiggles have brought that side out in her, and she's so natural with children. She's got a beautiful voice. She dances. My daughter Maria just left school, and she got this incredible mark in the HSC, like in the top 90s, and she wants to be an actor. Whereas everyone says to her, "Well, are you going to be a lawyer or a doctor?" She says, "No, I want to be an actor." But she doesn't want to be a Wiggle. She wants to be an actor.
That's good. It sounds like you're supporting whatever it is that they want to be, and also giving the opportunity to join you.
That's right. And Antonio, my boy, he's just turned 17. He's 6'4", so he towers.
Is he only 17?
Yeah, he's only 17.
Oh, wow.
He's 6'4", and just a real gentle giant, but a brilliant musician. But if I come into the room, he stops playing. If he'll never let me hear him. And
why not?
He has anxiety as well. So, and it's not like I don't encourage him, because I say, "Look, I'd love to hear you, man, and don't worry." But I do hear him sometimes. He's such a good musician. But I don't know what he's going to do when he leaves school, but he's a good kid,
Oh, that's awesome. It must be really lovely to have the opportunity to work with them if they want to do so.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Involve them in your work.
Well, Lucia's the one that really wants to be there. She's 20 now. Maria has flatly said that she'll never want to be a Wiggle.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's great. And Antonio definitely doesn't want to be on stage. He just doesn't want to. He just doesn't like to be the centre of attention.
You might just need a soundproof recording room for him.
Yeah, he really is one of those people that I admire so much, because they have all the talent, but they don't feel the need to go out and get approval for it. He's just quite happy to be in his room, playing away and making his music.
Well, I'm mindful that we booked in an hour to save your voice.
Oh, great, mate. No, my voice is terrible.
I do have one last question. I asked my kids if they had a question for you, and they started making up jokes to tell you, so I decided I'll stick with just a standard question. But my question is, what, if anything, do you wish was more common knowledge for anyone, for any age? What's something you wish that more people knew or practiced, or was just more common knowledge?
Oh, I think the secret is to, I wish more people were empathetic, and I I wish it was common knowledge that there is more than one way to live a life, and nobody's got all the answers, but and we all need support. I think that's common knowledge, that we all need somebody positive around us to help us through. And you can be that somebody for somebody. Somebody else can be that somebody for you. So that's all that I think that we all need help, and that none of us can get there by themselves.
That's a really beautiful one. And I think I know what thing you're going to say, but anything of yours that you would like to promote?
Oh, no, it's all right. Just that YouTube, Wiggle and Learn. It's just for you, only for you, Lisa. I just want you to go look at it.
I do. I'm going to go and check it out. I'm going to walk in the other room and be like, hey guys, did you know there's new Wiggles?
Wiggle and Learn.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Wiggle and Learn. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really enjoyed this.
No worries. Stay with me, mate. It's been great, and all the best. You're in Tassie. That's incredible.
Yeah, we moved down from Sydney during COVID when the borders were locked, because I was like, my kids need space and fresh air, and I didn't want to be in an apartment anymore, so we moved down here, and no regrets.
Are you in Launceston?
No, I'm down on the East Coast. So we went for, we wanted space because we were living in 100 square meters, and I had a little. She was 1 at the time, and I felt pregnant, and we were living in the apartment, and there were lockdowns, and I was just like, I want to grow my own garden and eat food from the garden, and I want them to spend time in nature, not staring at their screen constantly. So, yeah, I love it down here. Thanks for watching. And just a reminder, if you want to purchase a copy of my parenting book, you can find it in the show notes below. I'll also include a link that you can express interest in purchasing a copy of my children's book when it's available. And I just remembered at the end of the conversation, Anthony also shared about anxiety, and I briefly mentioned that it was unlearnable and rewirable. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, if it's something you suffer from yourself, let me know. There's a few options. One, it's something that I cover in early episodes of the podcast, which are audio only, available on Spotify, and I can point you towards the right episode that will help you based on where you're at in your journey. I also have an online course available called Redefine Yourself, How to Identify and Rewrite Your Base Programming, and that's a paid course. And there is also an interview coming up with a neuroscientist PhD. I think that one will be out in June or July, where we'll be discussing in detail how to rewire anxiety. So if that's something that is something you would like in your life to unlearn and rewire, stay tuned or reach out.